Life has a funny way of throwing you into situations you never saw coming. One minute, everything's normal, boring, even, and the next, you're knee-deep in something so surreal you'd swear it was a dream. That's exactly how I felt the day I got stuck with my older sister, Lily, in the most unexpected way possible. It all started with a simple favor. Lily, who is 4 years older than me and infinitely more stylish, had asked me to help her clean out her closet. She was moving into a new apartment soon and wanted to downsize her wardrobe. I agreed, mostly because she bribed me with a promise of pizza and also because I secretly loved looking through her clothes. Not that I'd ever admit that out loud. Lily had always been effortlessly cool. Long chestnut hair, sharp eyeliner, and a wardrobe full of clothes that made her look like she'd stepped out of a fashion magazine. Meanwhile, I was just me. Average height, messy brown hair, and a wardrobe consisting mostly of hoodies and jeans. But there was something about her clothes that fascinated me. The fabrics, the colors, the way they draped, it was like art. So there I was, sitting on her bedroom floor, sorting through piles of dresses, skirts, and blouses, when she suddenly tossed a silky pink blouse at me. "Try this on," she said with a mischievous grin. I froze. My face burned. There was no way she could know about the secret curiosity I'd buried deep inside, the quiet, shameful longing to know what it would feel like to wear something so undeniably feminine. I stammered out a refusal, but Lily wasn't having it. She rolled her eyes and called me a prude, then proceeded to pull out more clothes, draping them over me like I was her personal mannequin. Before I knew it, she had me in a skirt, a frilly top, and, God help me, a pair of tights. I expected to feel humiliated, but instead, something strange happened. Looking in the mirror, I didn't see my usual awkward self. I saw someone different, someone softer, someone who maybe, just maybe, could belong in those clothes. Lily must have seen the shift in my expression because her teasing smirk faded into something more thoughtful. She didn't laugh. Instead, she sat beside me and asked, quietly, if I'd ever thought about this before. I couldn't lie to her. The truth spilled out in a rush. The stolen moments trying on scarves, the envy I felt watching girls in pretty dresses, the gnawing confusion I could never put into words. What happened next surprised me even more. Instead of judging me, Lily hugged me tight and said, "Okay, let's figure this out together." And just like that, my world cracked open. Over the next few weeks, Lily became my guide, my cheerleader, my partner in crime. She taught me how to walk in heels without breaking my ankles, how to apply makeup without looking like a clown, and most importantly, how to silence the voice in my head that whispered, I was wrong for wanting this. It wasn't always easy. There were moments of frustration, of tears, of wanting to give up. But Lily never let me. One night, after a particularly emotional breakdown where I nearly threw all her clothes into the trash, she sat me down and handed me a small box. Inside was a delicate silver necklace with a tiny pendant. "This is yours now," she said. "No matter what, you're still you. Just maybe a shinier version." I wore that necklace every day after that. It became my anchor, a reminder that I wasn't alone. Eventually, I found the courage to step outside dressed as me. Not as the boy everyone saw, but as the person I'd always been inside. The first time was terrifying. My hands shook, my breath came in short gasps, and I was sure everyone was staring. But Lily held my hand the entire time, whispering encouragement until my heartbeat steadied. The world didn't end. No one pointed or laughed. Most people didn't even notice. And that was the most liberating feeling of all, realizing that I could just be, without apology. Looking back, I never would have guessed that a simple closet clean-out would change my life. But sometimes, the biggest transformations start with the smallest steps. And sometimes, all you need is someone who believes in you. Even if that someone is your older sister, who just so happens to have impeccable fashion sense. Now, whenever I catch my reflection, dressed in a way that finally feels right, I smile. Because I'm not stuck with my older sister anymore. I'm lucky to have her. And for the first time, I'm lucky to be me. The first time I went out in public as her, as the version of myself I'd only ever let exist in the safety of Lily's bedroom, was to a quiet cafe a few blocks from our apartment. It wasn't a grand gesture, no dramatic reveal to the world. Just a small step, but one that felt like leaping off a cliff. Lily had picked out my outfit, a soft cream sweater that draped just right over my frame, a pleated skirt that swished with every step, and ankle boots that clicked satisfyingly against the pavement. She had even done my makeup, keeping it subtle but enough to make my features feel right in a way they never had before. I remember gripping the edge of the doorframe before leaving, my stomach twisting into knots. What if someone recognizes me? I whispered. Lily just smirked and adjusted the collar of my sweater. Then they'll see a girl who looks damn good in cashmere. The walk to the cafe was a blur of nervous adrenaline. Every passerby felt like a potential judge, every glance a silent verdict. But then something unexpected happened. Nothing. No gasps, no laughter, no pointing fingers. Just people going about their days, barely sparing me a second glance. By the time we sat down with our coffees, the tightness in my chest had eased. I even caught myself smiling when the barista handed me my latte with a cheerful, "Here you go, miss." That night I cried, not from fear or shame, but from relief. For the first time, I had existed in the world as myself, and the world hadn't crumbled. It had simply accepted me. Of course, not every day was that easy. There was the time I ran into an old high school friend at the mall. I panicked, ducking behind a clothing rack like a fugitive, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might crack a rib. Lily, ever the unflappable force of nature, just rolled her eyes and dragged me out. "You're fine," she muttered. "And even if you're not, fake it till you make it." Then there was Mom and Dad. I hadn't planned on telling them. Not yet, maybe not ever. But Lily, in her typical bulldozer fashion, had other ideas. "They're going to notice eventually," she said one evening, painting her nails a glossy black. "Wouldn't you rather it be on your terms?" I wanted to argue, but she was right. So, with Lily's hand squeezing mine for courage, I sat them down and told them. Mom cried, not in a bad way, but in that overwhelmed, I don't know what to say way parents do when their child reveals something big. Dad was quiet for a long time, his brows furrowed like he was solving a difficult math problem. Then, to my shock, he just nodded and said, "Okay, what do you need from us?" It wasn't perfect. There were awkward questions, hesitant adjustments, moments where they slipped up with names and pronouns. But they were trying, and for now, that was enough. The biggest surprise, though, was how natural it all started to feel. Waking up and reaching for a dress instead of a hoodie. Learning how to twist my hair into a messy bun that somehow looked chic instead of lazy. The way my reflection no longer felt like a stranger staring back at me. Lily joked that I was becoming too good at this, that soon I'd be stealing her spotlight. But I knew the truth. None of this would have been possible without her. One evening, as we sat on her bed flipping through a magazine, she suddenly turned to me with a grin. "You know what we haven't done yet?" I raised an eyebrow. "What?" "Go out somewhere fun." That's how I found myself, a week later, in a crowded downtown club, dressed in a sequin top and a skirt short enough to make me second-guess every step. The music pulsed through the floor, neon lights flickering over a sea of dancing bodies. I should have been terrified. But with Lily dragging me onto the dance floor, laughing as I stumbled in my heels, the fear melted away. For the first time in my life, I wasn't hiding. I was just living. Now, months later, I sometimes look back at that first day, the pink blouse, the shaky breaths, the dizzying rush of fear and excitement, and marvel at how far I've come. I'm not stuck with my older sister anymore. I'm lucky to have her. And for the first time, I'm lucky to be me. The first time I saw her in the mirror, truly saw her, was on the morning of my college orientation. Not just glimpses caught in dressing room reflections or hurried glances before panic set in, but a full, unflinching look at the woman I was becoming. Lily had woken me up at dawn, insisting we needed proper prep time. She sat me down at her vanity, humming to herself as she worked her magic, foundation to soften my jawline, mascara to make my eyes pop, a hint of blush to give me that fresh-faced glow. When she finally spun me around to face the mirror, my breath caught. The girl staring back at me wasn't hiding. She wasn't unsure. She was ready. "You look hot," Lily declared, resting her chin on my shoulder. "Those freshman boys won't know what hit them." I rolled my eyes but couldn't stop smiling. 3 months ago, the idea of presenting as female in public would have sent me into a spiral. Now, the thought of walking onto campus as myself filled me with a quiet thrill. College was different. Not bad different, just new. The freedom of being somewhere nobody knew the old me was intoxicating. I could reinvent myself entirely, no explanations, no awkward transitions. Just her from day one. Of course, reality wasn't quite that simple. There were still moments that made my pulse spike. The time a professor called roll and hesitated at my chosen name, the way my stomach dropped every time I had to check female on a form, like I was waiting for someone to call me a fraud. But for every anxious moment, there were a dozen little victories. The way my roommate, Jess, casually asked if I wanted to borrow her hair straightener without a second thought. The group of girls in my sociology class who included me in their lunch plans without missing a beat. The barista at the campus coffee shop who remembered my usual order and always wrote Sophie on the cup in loopy cursive. Slowly, without fanfare, I became Sophie. Not just in my head, but in the world. Lily visited often, barging into my dorm room with shopping bags and unsolicited advice. "That eyeliner is not your shade, babe." She became my lifeline, my personal stylist, and when the occasional wave of doubt hit, my emergency pep talk provider. One rainy October night, after a particularly rough day, a misgendering incident in the dining hall, a failed quiz, and a run in my last pair of good tights, I called her in tears. She showed up an hour later with takeout, a new dress, and a determined glint in her eye. "Okay," she said, tossing the garment bag onto my bed. "First we eat. Then, we make you look so good you'll forget today ever happened." As I slipped into the dress, a deep emerald green that made my skin glow, something settled inside me. The doubts didn't vanish completely, but they quieted, soothed by Lily's unwavering certainty that I belonged exactly as I was. The real turning point came at winter formal. Jess convinced me to go, promising it would be fun. I spent hours getting ready, curling my hair into soft waves, painting my nails a shimmering gold. When I finally looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself, not because I looked different, but because I looked right. The dance itself was a blur of glitter and laughter. But I'll never forget the moment a guy from my English class, tall, sweet-faced Mark, asked me to dance. As we swayed to a slow song, his hand warm at my waist, it hit me. He saw me. Really saw me. And he liked what he saw. Later, when he walked me back to my dorm and shyly asked for my number, I realized something even more important. I liked what he saw, too. Now, as I sit here writing this, my nails painted lilac, Lily's silver pendant resting against my collarbone, I think about that first day in her closet. How terrified I was. How impossible it all seemed. I'm not stuck with my older sister anymore. I'm not stuck as someone I'm not either. Somewhere between Lily's eyeliner tutorials and late-night heart-to-hearts, between the missteps and the triumphs, I found her, me, and I'm never letting her go. The girl in the mirror smiles back at me now. And for the first time in my life, it doesn't feel like a revelation. It just feels like home. The summer after freshman year, I came home a different person. Not just in the physical sense, though Lily immediately noticed the subtle highlights in my hair and the more confident way I carried myself, but in the quiet certainty that had settled in my bones. Sophie wasn't just a name I used at college anymore. She was me, through and through. Lily greeted me at the door with her usual dramatic flair, pulling me into a hug that smelled like her signature vanilla perfume. "Look at you," she said, holding me at arm's length. "All grown up and fabulous." Our parents had adjusted better than I'd expected. Mom still sometimes hesitated before saying my name, and Dad occasionally tripped over pronouns, but their love had never wavered. That summer, they even helped me update my legal documents, a small but monumental step that made everything feel more real. The real test came when Lily invited me to her best friend's wedding as her plus one. Black tie event, she announced, tossing a glossy invitation onto my bed. Which means we're going all out. Panic fluttered in my chest. Most of Lily's friends had known me before, back when I was someone else. A formal event meant scrutiny, questions, potential awkwardness. Lily read my expression instantly. "Relax," she said, nudging my shoulder. "Half of them won't even recognize you. And the ones who do? They'll just be jealous of how good you look." The week before the wedding was a whirlwind of dress fittings, makeup trials, and Lily's relentless coaching on how to walk in stilettos without breaking an ankle. When the day finally arrived, I stood in front of the mirror in a sleek, off-the-shoulder navy gown. My hair swept into an elegant updo and felt something unexpected, not fear, but excitement. The wedding itself was a blur of champagne flutes and string music. A few of Lily's friends did double-take when they realized who I was, but to my surprise, their reactions ranged from polite nods to genuine compliments. One woman even pulled me aside to whisper, "You're stunning. Tell me who does your eyebrows." But the real moment of truth came during the reception, when an old family friend, someone who'd known me since childhood, approached with a puzzled frown. "I'm sorry," she said, squinting at me. "You look so familiar, but I can't quite place you." Lily swooped in before I could respond, looping her arm through mine. "This is Sophie, my younger sister," she said smoothly, emphasizing the words just enough to make her meaning clear. The woman's face lit up with understanding, and then, to my shock, pure delight.
"Oh,
"Well, it's lovely to meet you properly, Sophie." Later, as we swayed together on the dance floor, Lily squeezed my hand.
told you," she murmured.
The following spring, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror, carefully applying lipstick before a first date. Mark, the sweet guy from Winter Formal, had transferred to my university, and we'd been inseparable ever since. Tonight was our 6-month anniversary, and he'd promised a surprise. My reflection still sometimes caught me off guard, not because it felt wrong, but because it felt right in a way I still couldn't fully articulate. The soft curve of my blouse, the delicate chain around my neck, the way my smile had changed, not in shape, but in lightness, like I'd finally learned how to wear it properly. When the doorbell rang, I took one last deep breath. Lily's voice echoed in my head, as it often did in these moments. "You're not pretending, Sophie. You're just becoming." Mark stood on the porch holding a single sunflower, my favorite, his eyes widening when he saw me. "Wow," he breathed. I didn't blush or look away. Instead, I twirled just enough to make my skirt flare, grinning when he laughed. "Ready?" I asked. He offered his arm. "Always." Years later, at my wedding, Lily helped me into my dress, a flowing ivory gown with lace sleeves that made me feel like a fairy tale heroine. As she fastened the pearl buttons, her hands lingered for a moment on my shoulders. "Remember that pink blouse?" she whispered. I met her eyes in the mirror, our reflection side by side, her in emerald green, me in white, both of us grinning through tears. "Best closet clean out ever," I said. Outside, music swelled, and my future waited. But in that quiet moment, I reached back and squeezed her hand. My sister, my first ally, the one who'd seen me before even I had. The girl in the mirror smiled back, radiant and sure. No longer becoming,
Just being. And it was enough.
Thank you so much for watching till now. It means the world to have you here. This community is all about empowering each other and celebrating the incredible journeys of everyone on their path to living authentically. If you're ever feeling lost or alone, remember you have a whole family here for you. Hit that subscribe button. Smash that like button. And let's keep inspiring each other, sending you all the love and strength in the world. Until next time, live your life by your rules.